Let's take you to Sudan now, where the paramilitary rapid support forces have killed more than 200 people in attacks on villages around the town of El-Gitaina in White Nile state over the past 3 days. A human rights group called Emergency Lawyers has been monitoring violations, including attacks on civilians during the RSF attacks. In response to these recent escalations, the Sudanese government said on Monday it would allow aid agencies to use the Adre border crossing for a further 3 months. The government had restricted use of the crossing last year, saying that the rival forces used it to transport weapons. Meanwhile, the other warring group in Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces, is set to announce a parallel government in Nairobi, deepening the country's political divide. The move comes as General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hameti, seeks to solidify control amid the ongoing conflict. For more on this, let's cross now to Momin El-Maki, who joins me live from Port Sudan with more. So Momin, let's start off with this parallel government that the RSF is expected to form in Kenya. How will this affect their position on the ground, and what does this mean for the conflict overall?
Yes, the formation of a new government will have a great impact on the ground for the RSF, especially knowing that many of the armed forces that choose bias since the beginning of the war will join the RSF and fight shoulder to shoulder with them after the signing of this agreement. These forces are the Revolutionary Front, BJ parties, and also the Justice and Equality armed forces. All these forces will form one army with the RSF, and they will fight with them on the ground, maybe after the formation of this government. These armed forces has a great influence on the ground in Kordofan and Darfur, so maybe in the upcoming days we will witness heavy fighting between the Sudanese army and the rapid support forces after announcing this agreement and after announcing this government.
Right, I mean, 200 people have been killed over the last couple of days alone. Sudan, it's experiencing one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, and it's the civilians that are bearing the brunt. Momin, how dire are conditions in the conflict-ridden areas of Sudan?
Yes, the humanitarian situation is getting worse and worse every day, especially with the war entering. It is 22 months of war. According to UN, more than 30 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. People in the RSF areas are really suffering on a daily basis with the RSF abuses and crimes which they commit on a daily basis. According to the Sudanese government, more than 433 were killed in Al-Gitaina in White Nile state by the RSF during the past 3 days. So the humanitarian situation is very dire, and people are getting killed and getting abused on a daily basis.
Okay, Momin El-Maki live for us there in Port Sudan. Thank you, Momin, for that update. Moving on now, and the M23 rebel group executed 3 children after they donned weapons and uniforms of the Congolese army in the eastern city of Bukavu. That's according to the UN's Human Rights Office, who are voicing alarm over the incident and other violations since the group arrived in